Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I want to talk about when an avoidant silently decides that you're the one. Most people do misinterpret the stage. When I mean silently, I mean that they are doing this subconsciously and even consciously, but you might not be aware of it because it's not like they're directly stating it. They have processed and they're processing the relationship, what it needs to get to a more stable point, but also what it takes for them because they've decided you're the one, what they need to do next. Because deciding you're the one is not just a happy feeling, it's a mixed feeling. Because it also means responsibility. Because avoidance, they already know to some extent that they're not fully comfortable with showing up emotionally, and deciding that you're the one means that they do have to make some decisions, they do have to change some things. So it's a mixed feeling. So that's why you guys might misinterpret this stage. For male avoidance, this stage typically takes less time than female avoidance. Female avoidance, I'm being honest with you, sometimes can be in the stage for years. And the reason why is because females in general have a little bit more to risk when it comes to being in a relationship biologically, right? If you're pregnant and your husband abandons you, it's more difficult because you're the one carrying the baby. That's just from a biological perspective. And so females in general take a little bit longer to decide these things. Males, especially with male avoidance, for example, they can decide sometimes within a day. Sometimes it doesn't take that quickly, but it usually does happen because as long as there are certain things checked off for a male avoidance, for example, that's fine. Then they're okay with it. For female avoidance, they have those things, but they also have to make sure, is it safe? Can I trust you? Potentially, if you guys want children, are you going to be safe? Like, are you going to protect me when I'm pregnant? Not that they realize that's what's happening, but a lot of times that's where some of these things come from. So just keep that in mind. So what does this actually look like? What does this stage that we're talking about look like? It actually shows up as a little bit more distant. Not by much, but a little bit. Like I had mentioned, if an avoidant male is deciding you're the one for like a week, they're just distant for that week. It doesn't mean they're not talking. It might, but there is a little bit of distance, and you will see that. There's less focused on physical intimacy. This might be for a while because both male and female avoidance, when they actually, physical intimacy, when they fall in love, becomes much more important and more serious. And so actually they pull away from physical intimacy because it's going to be more romantic, which can be a little bit more pressure. But also they don't just see you as a physical person. And so it's not the mechanics of the physical intimacy, it's the romance of physical intimacy, which can sometimes be less often or less common for them to want because it's a powerful emotion. However, it's more desirable for them because it's a more loving aspect. It's almost like a romantic date, a very physical romantic date is how they feel like it is now. Whereas at first they just thought it was like something they had to do or just getting to know each other or the physical aspects, like the physical mechanics. But now it's a little bit more emotional, sometimes a bit more pressure, but it's also more romantic. And so there's going to be a less focus on physical intimacy. They're more focused on their true selves, which can sometimes mean more maladaptive strategies. It shows how much work they need to do on themselves, to be honest, and they often isolate themselves. So you're going to see that more maladaptive behaviors. For example, some female avoidants, they're very rigid about like food and eating. And then male avoidants, sometimes they have that, but I've seen like male avoidants be more rigid with like exercise and like cleanliness. Female avoidance too, but like they are really careful if you like drop something on the stove or something, they quickly clean it. And so you might see a lot of these controlling behaviors, the way they control their life. You're going to start seeing that. And we're going to talk about what they're assessing and then how we can kind of resolve those things as well. But before that we do, I wanted to let you know if you guys want to see me and work on some of these problems regarding your particular relationship, you want to heal things with your husband, your wife, with your girlfriend, or just a person that's kind of keeping you in the friend zone, but you feel like there's something romantic and you want to talk about it with me so that we can kind of discuss what to do next, you absolutely can. I have slots available. The link will be in the description box, but it's also going to be in the pinned comments. And so if you guys want to take advantage of that, that is absolutely available. So what are they assessing while they're being silent? Do you have a compatible lifestyle to theirs? And so that compatibility could be, are you a morning person? And is that something important, right? A lot of patients, actually, regardless of attachment style, but more particular with avoidance, they tend to say like, what time this person wakes up, how long they're staying late like they stay out late. Avoidants really worry about these things or are concerned about these things because a lot of avoidants, they tend to be like a morning person. because they like to wake up and work. Like, I'm just being honest. They like to be prepared for their job. They like to come home after work and set things up for their job. So they're typically not going to prefer schedules where it's like noon to midnight. They tend to prefer schedules like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's a preferred schedule for avoidance. Not always not always the case, but they tend to check that. And so they want to just make sure you fit that. You don't have to be exactly like them, but they don't want it to be where you guys are complete opposite schedules. That's an example. The next one is, can you manage some disappointment in the relationship without breaking up? This one's so important. I probably should have put it first. But you're going to be disappointed in them because they're still trying to heal their attachment style and their identity, the maladaptive parts. And if you break up with them, they can't do that, and they're going to actually end up with a broken heart. And so they want to see that you can still stay and be there for them while they're healing. That doesn't mean you tolerate everything, but if they're overall a reasonable person and they just have some maladaptive issues, you set those boundaries, you set those expectations. You are disappointed. You can say you're disappointed, but you're not going to break up with them, not until something crosses a line or you don't see change. That's more like what they are expecting and wanting to see. The next one is, can you communicate what you want instead of by indirect means? So if you give them the silent treatment, if you are telling them they should know better, it's your anniversary. How do they not know that you want flowers? They probably don't know. They might think happy anniversary is enough. Or they might not know if you're an anniversary person because they're not an anniversary person. So mention, this is what I want specifically. Even to the point where I want you to give me flowers on Valentine's Day and mail it to my house. If you miss me when you're on vacation, I want you to tell me I miss you. I know people don't like that, but being specific is very important. Now, eventually, they will be able to do it without you giving specific instructions, but usually they need that specific instruction set up. The next one is, can you acknowledge their efforts? I appreciate that you gave me flowers. Thank you for telling me you miss me. I can see how much you're changing for our relationship. Now, the next 3 points is what they're looking at themselves. So it's not really something you can do, but they need to evaluate this. Can they give you some of the things that you are asking for? And the only thing that you can do is just be mindful of what you're asking in terms of timing. The speed that you see in the relationship for yourself is going to be quicker than their speed. So maybe you want to get married in 1 year. They might not be ready until year 3. An example, to be honest, I'll be really honest with you, it's more like year 7. Sometimes it's year 3, but it's usually going to be like year 7, year 6 and 7. It's going to take a long time. And so can they give you that? Can they meet you in the middle? You want year 1, they want year 7. Can they give you year 3? Can they give you year 5? They're trying to figure that out. And for you to manage that, maybe you can be like, you know what? I'm flexible. Maybe I don't need year 1, but I need some sort of promise by year 2. I need some sort of conversation about it by year 2 or 3. Maybe that's your flexibility. If you can be more flexible at this, it can help them to decide as well. I'm not saying let it go completely because they need to learn to compromise, but it's just an example. The next one is, can they compromise to some extent? This one's really important. You have to give them opportunities to compromise. You can say, I'm willing to do that. Can you meet me here? Let them show you. They need to be able to compromise, and they need to see this one. And the last one is, can they keep promises to you? And the only way they can check that is if you give them areas they need to promise. So you have to give them that stuff. It doesn't have to be promise me, but you can say, can you do this when you're on vacation? Can you buy me a gift when you're out of town? Something like that. It's very, very important, okay? And so what are they assessing? Let's summarize and we'll wrap it up. Do you have a compatible lifestyle? Can you manage that disappointment without breaking up? Can you communicate directly? Can you acknowledge their efforts? Can they give you the things that you're asking for? At least some of them. Can they compromise? And can they keep their promises? I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.